as a fellow comedian, I've often wondered, what is your writing process? How do you come up with jokes? How do you formulate your act or monologues throughout the years?
Well, I use a speak and spell.
I don't believe that's true.
I don't believe it's true either. What do I do? Well, if I get an idea, I write it down. And if I can't find a pencil, I just keep saying it in my head over and over. Like if it was something like, a polar bear eats an icicle, it just polar bear eats an icicle, polar bear eats an icicle, and I just do it over and over again until it's at the point when I reach a pencil or my phone where I could put it in the notes section. I just polar bear eats an icicle, and that's been my basically my modus, my operandi, and my chase card.
Do you miss doing comedy
Not
live every day?
necessarily. No, no, no. Geez, absolutely not. I enjoy sitting in a closet and just relaxing. I don't need to jump around and figure it all out and try to come up with a show that. And by the way, I don't think you can do quite the job that you could do when I was in the '80s. I mean, you could just about do whatever you wanted to do. You could say, you could do, you could. It just was a free for all. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, in those times you could do this, and it's the same thing as a speak and spell. It's, do you need it?
Right. You So a speak and spell would be the way to go. You want to get into comedy, get yourself a speak and spell. That's what I'm taking away.
Well, and you don't need to speak or spell to use the thing. By the way, it's got flashing lights. It's fun. It makes some beeping sounds. You don't need to speak and spell, and that's the thing that a lot of people forget.
You had a lot of, I mean, you pretty much, I can't imagine anybody that you didn't get a chance to interview throughout your illustrious career. Who was your favorite president to interview and why? Or even just be around or get to know a president. Who was your favorite and why?
Probably Barack Obama, just because there's an infectious nature about him, and if you shake his hand, you know he means it. And he just smells great. I don't know what he uses. Maybe it's some fancy cologne, or maybe it's just, I don't know. I can't speculate on how he puts that together, but it's a scent that is just fantastic.
Yeah. And his name is very fun to say also, right? Fun name to say.
Sure, sure, but you got to get it right.
Yes, say it.
Obama Obama. No, it's not. People fall short of a certain caliber of thought, and that is sometimes things are just supposed to flop.
Sure.
Some things are just supposed to, just fall onto the floor, and you just have to start over. Some things just it kind of go that way because they need to. And I myself, being as clumsy and as goofy as I can be, might have been the right anecdote at the time, but now it's frauder.
Sure. Well, who was your least favorite president to interview and why? Was there a president that you can now that you're not, binded by a network and lawyers and all, you can actually
I'll,
say, hey, this guy
I'll
I
tell
didn't
you,
enjoy. Didn't enjoy him.
the president of the Men's Warehouse. Do you remember? Do you remember George Zimmerman? Was it George Zimmerman? I think he had the same name as, but he was just he just too conniving. When he came up onto the under
You okay?
uh, a bit of a mouth. I'll tell you. Here's my cookbook. Here's the way I work.
Okay.
Uh,
Cookbook.
when I wake up in the morning and I don't necessarily get out of bed. I just sit on the edge of the bed and I don't move. And I want the head to just fill up with blood. I want my body to be able to be limber and responsive to my mental requests. Um, and then I go about my day. And for whatever reason, it goes the way it goes. But if I get thirsty, I have something to drink. If I get hungry, I have something to eat. But also sometimes I have something to drink because if I have to wash it down, I want something
Of course.
that's you understand. But I never wanted to be this relaxed, and let me just tell you what that means.
Please do.
Uh, and it's not a boredom that comes over you. It's the basic. It's instinctual, and it's not fantastic.
Right.
Um, it has to be something going on. There has to be something going on, whether it's a football game, whether it's staring at the sky. There has to be something going on, and I think that's what people forget about is to have something going on. And I appreciate you having me on this podcast because
It's an honor.
it just gives me, to be honest with you, and I mean this, and I'm not saying this to just say something out loud. I'm saying thank you. Thank you for letting me come into your living room and toss around some ideas and try to have some cognizance about the situation. And I do find that to be refreshing
Yeah.
and at the same time just debilitatingly wonderful.
Anytime, Dave. Maybe we can work this into like a friendship. We could really do go around, pal around, and do stuff. If we were going to be buddies, we're going to go spend a day together or an evening together, just with you, me and you, buddy around. What would that entail?
Well, that would entail a fantasy because it's never going to happen. Uh,
I figured.
I do what I do. I don't have time to be pedaling around town
Sure,
on a tandem bicycle with you.
that
Um,
would be lovely.
well, it'd be lovely, but it would be a fantasy world. Um, I'm Dave. I do what I do. I wake up, I brush my teeth, and then I go back to bed. Uh, but before I go back to bed, sometimes I'll eat breakfast.
Do you still run a lot? Like everybody, you're notorious for running all over New York. I know you're probably in your Connecticut home or wherever you.
Right,
But are you still running every day? And how many
right.
miles do you run?
Well, let's be completely and totally honest about
I
the whole
love that.
endeavor. When I dance to kill. Uh, but when I run, I just. Are you okay?
Yeah, I had something in my throat. I had to get it out. Didn't want to do it on mic, so
Yeah,
sorry about that. And when you
but
run with intent. That's what you're
well,
saying.
no, I was going to say when
Yep.
I run for short periods of time, and then I'm picked up in a car and taken elsewhere. It's just for show. I don't do it. Uh, I don't do it. Let's just say that I don't really run. I'll run, from one tree to the next, but then I'll take a break and then I'll hide.
Yeah, good. Just for the paparazzi to get a couple
Sure,
snapshots of you.
sure, for sure, sure. For the paparazzi, for the popcorn, for anything that pops.
Sure, I understand that. I have now. I want to do something here real quick. Humor me, and then, if this is boring you, we can definitely move on. I'm just going to mention some names of Pat, from just people, all of them. I'm sure you've interviewed, and I want you to just the first thing that comes to your head about each person.
Sure.
Maybe
Okay.
okay. First one, Richard Simmons was also
Farts too much.
really that is
Sure. And the greasy
too
ones too.
much.
Those the farts that stick to your thighs.
Jeez,
Richard Simmons used to fart the place up,
I'm
and
very surprised to hear that because he had those shorts that he was wearing, those very airy
sure,
shorts. This probably got out in
sure,
the room pretty quick.
sure, and probably just stay home the nights he ate Taco Bell, uh, because it just wasn't friendly. It was rapid fire. It felt bad. It was too much for
Yeah.
anyone to handle. But that was Richard Simmons, and a lot of people didn't even know that he would eat at Taco Bell.
Because he's such a
But he
fitness
did.
guy and all that. Yeah.
Well, everybody has their vices, but yeah, and you can eat healthy at Taco Bell. You could get a salad.
Strange place to
So
go for a salad, but absolutely.
yeah, but there's stranger places to go for a salad, isn't there?
Absolutely. Urinal. A urinal would be a very strange
Yeah.
place for a
Yeah.
salad.
Well, let's not get too.
Okay, I
Let's get.
apologize
Let's
about
not.
that.
Let's not.
Okay,
Let's not.
see,
All right.
that's a great Richard Simmons story. Not everybody knew he was farting up the whole joint, but now we know. That's very interesting. What about uh, what about Elon Musk? Do you have any thoughts on
Elon
him?
Musk.
You ever
Well,
get to
he's
meet him?
done. I've got to meet him before. I met him on my show. He wasn't on the show, but I did meet him. Um, a nice guy, a real nice guy. Again, I don't know what this whole space thing's about, and I don't know what the Tesla's about, and I don't know what any of it's about. But what I do know is that the guy seems to be an upstanding guy. Again, I don't know why did it go from Twitter to X. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So there's some light-footed moment. I just don't. I can't give you a real opinion on the guy, to be
Sure.
honest with you.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair. How about Jay Leno? Do big feud you guys had forever, but do you have any? Have you guys mended fences? Have you guys?
Well, I don't know if we've mended any fences, but we might have thrown caution into the wind in the simple fact that yes, he wears denim, I wear khakis. Uh, he drives an old car, I get a ride.
Yeah.
Um, he has better hair, I could probably outrun him. Uh, but again, it's not a competition. We did have our battles, we did have our idiosyncrasies, and we found what those idiosyncrasies were, and we tried to work backwards. I feel like a better guy now that some time has passed. But if I saw him in an alley and he looked cross at me, I'd probably knock his block off.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe you would do that to anybody, not just Leno. Anybody gave you a stink eye in an alley that
Well,
might chip
I've
some
got a
teeth.
I've got a bit of a bum elbow, so I can't extend like a prize fighter would.
Right.
Um,
You okay there, Dave?
oh, geez, let me have a sipper.
Oh, sure. What about Drew Barrymore? Very famously flashed you her tater tots one time
Right.
on the show. What's
Yeah.
your relationship like with her?
Well,
Or any stories
she's
you might have?
Drew Barrymore is a wonderful woman and just a delight to see up close. There's a radiance to her, and there's a conventionality to her as well. So you could feel a colonialistic approach to what could have been or what might have been perhaps a stunning modeling career. She's just a great person and a wonderful human being, and I just can't say enough about Drew Barrymore.
Right. I would imagine that she always seems really lovely, and I've never met her, but I would imagine that to be the case. What about this guy, ARL Aldrid? He's just a buddy of mine. Any thoughts?
Never heard of him. Never heard of him. Is this pop quiz time again? I
No.
mean,
No. I was just
who exactly is he, and where does he come from, and what does he do? And get it out of my
just a
face.
guy, my buddy of mine in Indiana. I just thought I'd throw you a curveball to see if
Is
you.
this the guy that was selling buttered sausage on the side of the road? How did this happen again, by the way? How did this buttered sausage thing become a phenomenon? For God's sakes, what is it? What does it do? What is it? I can't stop saying it.
Yeah, it became a real craze there. What about that? What about Gary Busey? You must have
Gary
interviewed
Busey.
him 1,000 times.
Well, Gary's a good guy, and Gary means well. But Gary's a little too strong for his own well-being. So when he squeezes my hand it's a little more than a squeeze. It's basically a squeeze play because he's distracting me with the squeeze, so
Right.
then he could put on the squeeze play. So if you know baseball at all and you know Gary Busey at all, I think that would probably make sense to you.
Right. I know one of the two. I'm not. I don't know Busey. Never interviewed him. Got to interview him one time on this show though, and he seems like a great guy. What about Donald Trump? He's been on the show a bunch of times before. I mean, obviously pre-president, but he was a big New
Do-
Yorker when you were a big New Yorker. What was your relationship like with Donald Trump?
I didn't have. He was on the show several times, and at that time you don't take a guy seriously because he's not the president yet. So here's a guy that comes on there. I just think, well, he's a New York guy. He's into developing businesses and residential and commercial real estate. Here's a guy who comes out. He wears maybe the nicest suit you can find, and then wears a coat over it and leaves right away and does won't stay for any of the cantaloupe. So, I don't know what to say for the guy other than, he's had a hell of a ride, but so have I. I'm Dave. I was on my show for 33 consecutive years, and over that time it was difficult. It was treacherous. But it was also fun and bewildering. But that was then, and this is now. So I'm an older man. I'm not that concerned about Donald Trump.
Right.
I think that whatever happens will happen, and I think we'll be able to get out of certainly the recession we're about to go into, and certainly I think we can take care of these bigger issues, such as the unboxing of an entire nation. And again, I'm not a politician, but I do like cottage cheese, and I'll eat it whenever I get a chance.
Big fan of cottage cheese, are you?
Not necessarily, but I like the protein factor,
Right.
and it's not too bad with peaches.
How's your Netflix show going? Do you have any new guests you could actually break on the Jeff Richards show who you will be having?
Well, I don't want to get too far into it, and I think it's just safe to say that Lee Iacocca won't be on this season.
Well, what about this one, Dave? Is there any musical act that you never had on your band? Maybe because some members have passed away, or maybe you just never got them on the show. What musical act you feel like kind of eluded you?
Well, that's a good question.
Thank
I
you.
don't think about the musical acts too often. A lot of times when I do my show, I would forget there even were musical acts,
During the show,
and during the show as they were playing, I would just it just wouldn't kick in.
sure.
So probably the Beatles, and I say that because I've had all the different Beatles on the show except for John was on the show too. They've all been on the show. It would just be nice to see them again. I'd like to see Coldplay, uh, but come to think of it, I don't. Are they all live?
Very much so. I believe they're on tour
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, very
Well,
very much so.
if one of them unfortunately passed, I'd want to have them on.
You don't. You only want to have them on after somebody dies in the band.
I'm not going to confirm or suggest or request
Sure,
that particular response.
sure. Um, and that along that same line, is there anybody? Everybody said. You always have said, or I've read that you've said that you always loved having Bill Murray on. He was the first guy on and the last guy on. And is there anybody that you didn't actually get to interview that you would have liked to have had on the show? Maybe somebody that just said, no, I'm not going to do the show.
That's a good question too. I don't. When you do so many interviews over so many years,
Sure.
it becomes less and less about the people, and more about get me the hell out of here. Uh, I don't care what Madonna has to say. I don't care what back in the day Steve Gutenberg would come on, and if you knew Steve, you loved him But if you didn't know him, you hated him because from a distance he just sort of buzzed around.
I hated him, and I
And
didn't
so
know him.
I tried to just avoid Steve Gutenberg.
He was just there all the time.
Well, he was there enough.
I'm still taken back about how farty Richard Simmons was. That really that really threw me for.
And again, I think the thing with Richard Simmons and the reason he would fart so damn much is because he did have a great, healthy system. His body was in tip-top shape. You've seen the Sweating to the Stars, but when you have a vessel like that running at 150 miles an hour, you can't just throw in mud. And I think that's what he would do. He would have a double queso crunch or a Mexican pizza, for God's sakes. What
Yeah,
the
that's
hell's in that?
recipe
And
for
so,
disaster.
well, it's a recipe for something, and I don't know what it is, but I think it's
I think you
something.
do.
Oh.
I think it's a recipe for a whole Studio 8H just getting farted all up. If that was the studio, was that the
Well,
studio?
I don't think flatulence is a skill, and if it was, I don't know that it would it would go out with itself. I
Probably
think
not.
it would go out with a bang. Uh,
Probably not. What about Schwarzenegger? Speaking of being super healthy, you and him had a
yeah,
bunch of good back and forths. What was he like? I hear he's a great guy.
he's a great guy, but he is a mischievous guy. If you don't know him, you don't see it. But if you know him, he's mischievous, and he'll do crazy things. He'll
Like
do
what?
well. I mean, like he'll go under a bed and stay there.
Why?
What he would might say is why not?
That's true.
But but I mean, for the simple fact that he could get away with it, probably. And I'm saying a bed that doesn't fit him, he could get under. I mean, this is the prowess of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and something that you don't see again when you don't know him. So I had this unique perspective of seeing a lot of people, when the camera was off, when we were at commercial, they'd turn over to me and say, "Have you seen my wallet?" And
Sure.
I'd say, "No, I haven't seen your wallet." And this would go on and forth. So it's a privilege to have been able to do what I've done for so long, and it's just sugar every day, being alone, and seeing my son occasionally. He's got his own life, so
How old is
you know
his Harry now?
he's in his 20s. He's in his 20s.
Wow, that went
Yeah, he's
fast, huh?
almost 30 years old.
So
Yeah.
you're empty nesters now, huh? What's that like?
Well, it's like I said before. It can be cold. It can be wet. It can be damp. It can be it can be all these different things sitting on top of your head. Or you can just get up and walk around, put on your slippers, go outside, smell the air, come back inside, take a nap, have a sandwich, go back outside, and repeat this over and over again. And if you just stay busy, you won't notice your life is terrible. You'll just
I would
you'll
imagine
just
your life.
stay.
I imagine your life is. You never know anybody till you walk in their shoes. But I would imagine your life, retirement right now. You've done well for yourself. I imagine you have a pretty great life.
Well, everybody would imagine that, and I would imagine you have a pretty good life yourself.
I can't
But
complain.
it's what you tell yourself. It's what you wake up and say to yourself every day. And most days, I don't want to get out of bed. And that's
Wow.
it. That doesn't mean I'm depressed. It means I just don't want to get out of bed. I want to stay there in bed, and sometimes I do that until I have to go tinkle, and then I'll go to take a pee pee, and that'll happen, and that'll be
Very
okay.
natural.
Sure.
Very natural. What's if you have it? To me, I was wondering this about you the other day when I knew I was going to be filling in for Jeff. Do you have any like? What's your bad habits? What is Dave? If you go, hey Dave, you got to get rid of that. Get rid of these bad habits. What are some of your old bad habits there, David Letterman?
Well, I don't know that I have too many anymore,
Good, that's good.
but I will chew toothpicks. Uh,
It's not too
I
bad.
and I'm not saying I chew them at the end of using the toothpicks on my teeth. I I just start chewing them. So there's so that's sort of a bad habit, but they're not too expensive. I don't worry about it too much.
Toothpicks are very, very inexpensive.
Well, if you buy them in bulk, they're even cheaper.
Right. Yeah, I can't really imagine buying just one toothpick. Maybe you were a beaver in a past life. You ever think about that?
All
Like
right,
chewing wood?
that sounds like you might be coming at me.
No, no. I'm just I don't know necessarily know if I believe in past life stuff, but that's very beaver-like. Just chewing.
This seems to be the part in the interview where you start to get a little loopy.
I don't think I'm loopy Dave, but maybe I've had a lot of caffeine in me. You a big coffee drinker? You big caffeine guy?
Sure. I have cafe coffee. I have it in the Mister Coffee. I use the old Mister Coffee, and I actually make the coffee myself. I pride myself in my making of coffee, and I like to, I just, it's just it's good. It's thick. It wakes you up. It's kind of a reason to get out of bed.
Right.
Coffee. It's let's face it. It's really the only reason to get out of bed.
I'm noticing that you like to be in bed a lot, Dave.
No.
Is that true? That's what you're saying?
Well, let's just say this. I like to be in bed when I like to be in bed. So I'm talking about the time frame that I'm in bed. Sometimes I'm in bed for 14 hours, but I'm only sleeping maybe 6, maybe 7 hours,
Sure. I want to get
right?
back. Can I get back to something you said earlier? It just came back into my head, and I'm just curious about it. What did what did you mean when you said when you dance to kill? What does
Well,
that exactly mean?
when I dance to kill, and that doesn't mean I wear pointed shoes. It doesn't mean I've got a dagger up my
Of
sleeve.
course.
It just means that, hey, whichever floor I'm dancing on, look out. And and I will bring all that I have, all 100 and what am I, just 185 pounds. I'll bring it all, and it'll come down like. Do you know that song "Purple Rain" by Prince?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
It would come down like purple rain.
Wow. Thank you for clarifying. I'm not. It's gonna be a long time before I stop saying when I dance to kill.
I don't know. I don't know why things are striking you a particular way. And
That was
this is the
very
thing
funny to
about
me. It's just those words you don't
no.
really hear together very often. You know, that was the only reason.
So, but what should I do? Should I do some other form of language?
No, no, not at all. I just think it's great. That struck me as funny, and you just kind of breezed right over it, and I didn't really know what dance to kill meant.
Right.
And now I know.
But I'm telling you, when Richard would let one go, it like the whole place was toast. It was just a melted. You thought something had melted.
Why didn't
With
anybody say anything to him? Or maybe perhaps you did.
well, I don't know what can you say. And once it's already out, it's out. It's running amok. So
Would the studio audience notice it?
no, I'm just talking about whenever Richard would show up, to the show or otherwise.
Right.
If I saw him at a party, or I saw him at the Comedy Store, he was up in the belly room, and I walked in, it was just, well, Richard's here, and I could tell that he was present just by the smell, and you could tell it was a Burrito Supreme night because there was just an extra gravity to it. There was a pull.
There was a what? I'm sorry.
A pull. There was a frequency gone amiss.
Sure. Well, man, that's alarming. I had no idea about that.
Literally, it's alarming. It set the alarm off. I'm not kidding you.
Did it? Wow. I didn't even
No.
know that was something that could actually happen. Well, David Letterman, this has been just a delight getting to know you. I've spent my entire life kind of following in your path. Like I said, we both went to high school in Indiana. We both went to Ball State, and we both moved from there straight to the Comedy Store. So it's been an honor getting to know you and hearing your incredible Richard Simmons stories, amongst many others. And thank you to you, sir, and thank you, Jeff, for letting me do this. Thank you so much,
Uh,
Dave.
And I would just like to say a few things,
Sure.
and those are as follows. If you have it in your bones and you can feel it and you can touch it, go to the doctor. If if there's a Band-Aid that you can buy that will cover it, go to Rite Aid.
Okay.
And if you're going to just get some fruit, go to Trader Joe's.
Okay. That's it, guys. The great David Letterman with some incredible advice.
That feels contradictive. That feels sarcastic.
Again, not any of that was sarcastic.
Okay, then what was it?
I was just saying that was great advice from the great David Letterman about where to get produce and how to handle injuries.
Is that a Van Halen T-shirt?
This is just a regular.
Why did you open up the shirt like I'm not talking about your chest?
I was just saying just to show you there was nothing on it. It's just a pink shirt.
When's the last time you took a bath?
A bath? Oh, it's been a while, a long time. Baths, I don't. I'm more of a shower guy. I don't really take baths. Been a long time. Are you a big bath guy, Dave?
I like it. If I can fit into one, I like it. I don't like, and on occasion, as a fun treat, I'll go into a really shitty hotel. I'll check into, just
Really?
I'm not going to say who the shitty hotels are, but just some of the worst hotels, and I'll
Seedy.
just seedy hotels, and I'll go in there and I'll take a bath, and a lot of time the water doesn't come out too hot, so I just I'll just sit there and
Don't people go like, why, David Letterman? Why are you here at the whatever it is, the crappy motel? Aren't
I
they
just go
shocked to see you?
I go through the back and I go up the stairs and no one knows I'm there.
You don't even check
Um,
in. You just break into hotels and bathe.
well, someone checks in for me.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I forgot.
Someone goes to the office and says, "Listen, give me a room." It's not that big of a deal. What I'm trying to say is those hotel baths aren't necessarily great.
Yeah, I would imagine they're downright filthy. Some of them, maybe. No.
I'm looking at you as the toll guy. I'm looking at you as I'm trying to drive my car into the great state of New Hampshire, and yet I've got this guy, and he won't let me go.
David
This is
Letterman.
what it feels like. I don't seem to have the right amount of change for you. It's it,
You need the exact right amount, Dave. $1.75, or you're going to sit here all day. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor to get to sit here and talk with the great David Letterman. Thank you again, Jeff, and thank you, David Letterman.
Thank you very much, Jason, and I appreciate it. And to the good people at Sioux City, Iowa, thank you as well. And we'll see you next time.